Hey, how are you? Want to thank you for tuning in and allowing me to be a part of your journey with the Lord. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be an encouragement to you. I've been looking at some different verses, even in the Old Testament, and seeing what an incredible parallel uh, there is between God's relationship with his old covenant people and his new covenant people. There are many differences, but many things we see. In Isaiah chapter 41, God gives a message through his prophet to Israel who had frequently been in rebellion. And in verse 8, he says, "But you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the offspring of Abraham, my friend, you whom I took from the ends of the earth and called from its farthest corners, saying to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you and not cast you off. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Well, I love that he refers to them in three different lights. He says, your servant, your chosen, your friend. I took you and I gathered you from the farthest parts of the earth where you had been scattered. Um, he says, I chose you when you were nothing. You had nothing to offer. Uh, and yet you're a servant. And so first we see that it's important to recognize that in many respects, even as new covenant Christians, we are servants. We have a Lord. We have one who rules and reigns over our lives. And so as servant, we recognize that we are not our own authority, but he is our authority. The servant does not do its own will whenever it wants to. It does the will of his master. And so I encourage you to say, Lord, I'm your servant. What do you want to do in me? What do you want to do through me? Here I am. I'm yielded. He says, man, you're chosen. Sometimes we get it backwards and we think, well, when I chose God and I chose Jesus, but you know what? I don't think that's the right way to see it. I think the only reason that we received him, believed on him, entrusted ourselves to him is because he first chose us. He is the one who came in relentless pursuit of my life. Not when I was seeking him, when I was running from him. And this is the beautiful story of the gospel, that God chose us when we had nothing to offer him, when we were his enemies, when we were alienated from his life. He chose us. He pursued us. And then he says, your friends. Abraham was his friend, and you are his friend. Jesus told the apostles, I no longer call you servants, I call you friends. Yes, he was their master, but the servant doesn't know the will or purpose of the master. He simply obeys. And while we are servants, we are also friends. He reveals his good purposes for you. He says, I've chosen you and not cast you off. Yes, they did suffer quite a bit for their rebellions. There were consequences that had choices, and they had been taken into captivity. But never did God forget his covenant people, and never will he cast you off. Look at verse 10, and let these promises settle deep in your heart. First, he says, fear not. for I am with you. Do you realize, friends, that you will go nowhere without him? He is not external to you. He lives in you. He is your life. And so no matter what you're facing, illness, job challenges, insecurities about the state of the world, he says, fear not. Perfect love casts out fear. Fear not. You're not all alone. Fear not. I won't cast you off. I'm with you. He says, be not dismayed. Boy, this life can be confusing. Hard to get our heads all wrapped around. Wondering what's next, what's going to happen, what's going on. He says, be not dismayed, for I am your God. You and I will not understand everything. The person who thinks they have an answer for everything that's going on is likely getting it wrong. He says, I'm your God. I'm the one who's in control. I've got this. I'm with you. Don't be dismayed. I've got it. You don't understand? That's okay. I'm God. I'm the one who has the ability, the power to handle and bring you through every challenge, every storm. He is, I am your God. Your God, friends, is not far away. He's not preoccupied. He lives in you. And he says, I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Thank him. Because when we are weak, then we are strong. He is our strength. He is the one who sustains us. He, when we are weary and faint, is the one who causes us to stand. He upholds us with his righteousness. He, who knew no sin, became sin for us, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. We have faithful promises, not because we're always faithful, but because he is always faithful. And that's what makes the gospel good news. Servant? Yes. Chosen? Certainly. Friend? He's working in you and through you, and he will never leave you or forsake you. Let that be transformative in your life today. Have a great day. I love you.